Transport infrastructure is critical in inclusive economic growth. This has been noted by the National Treasury in the recent policy documents, and transportation is a key part of the National Development Plan 2030. The challenges, though, is how are these developments financed?
A lot of people ask this question, why do we want to move traffic from road to rail?
We know that transport infrastructure is a driver for an economy. That rail is actually your starting catalytic infrastructure. Rail will also be your starting point for your other base infrastructure. Let's call it ports, terminals, power, water. It's unfortunately or fortunately, in my case fortunately because I'm in rail, but it's been proven time and time and again, you build rail infrastructure, you build an economy around the entire place, and that works for bulk freight, it works for passenger freight as well.
There are 4 technologies that are basically are conflating to disrupt just about everything in their wake. That's IoT, big data, cloud, and artificial intelligence. And the rail industry is affected by this.
This is where Transnet in its current position is uniquely positioned, because Transnet does manage and control to a very large extent rail ports and terminals. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's working in the best possible way, but yes, Transnet is positioned to leverage and provide direction in many aspects of the economy itself. So what are the challenges affecting the country or affecting the global country or global climate change?
One of the biggest drivers of change, for instance, particularly in the metropolitan areas, is urbanization. This province is growing at the rate of 200,000 people every year. By the last census of 2016, we were sitting at 14.7. By 2021 census, we probably would have grown by another million, if not more. And half of those people are coming from other provinces, and half of them are coming from across our borders. And this is putting a huge strain on the transport infrastructure, let alone even on the either rolling stock or vehicles.
African governments don't have money. South Africa is not an exception. And we can argue that monies are being spent in areas that are not important, or will be spending in some areas. The fact of the matter is that we have education that needs to be paid for, because we promise free education. And there's health that also is competing from the few cents that we have. So in instances where we can have private-public partnerships or private sector participation to reduce the burden on government, why are we not exploring that?
We need the rail, the road infrastructure. We still need the road infrastructure, but we also need the rail infrastructure. In this picture, we're just using an example where we say, if you want to move people in an hour, how many people can you move in an hour using these various modes? So we use an example of a 3-meter lane. In other words, if you've got a 3-meter lane and then you need to choose any one of this mode in an hour, what sort of volume, what sort of passengers can you move? And you will see that if you are driving your own vehicle, in an hour, you can only move 2,000 people if you only have the 3.5-meter lane.
The nice thing about the rail industry is that IoT works very nicely. One of the, in my business, I'm in the drones industry. You know, our interest in the rail space, for instance, is that we can fly a drone on a piece of infrastructure that has a digital representation, and we can be able to pick up rust by putting in a thermal camera. We can put up from a security side, we can put a thermal camera that can pick up the movement of people. We can do all the things that are scary, like facial recognition and all those things. But what is quite interesting is that all of this is becoming a huge headache and a disruption to the economy. What we saw, what Uber did, was just the tip of the iceberg, where they basically disrupted just about the whole industry. And this is just the beginning, because the disruption is still going to happen.
you're talking about your drones, your university students, but I can bet you my bottom dollar is that the majority of the people in this country will not move with technology. And when you talk about technology, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, we're talking about Internet of Things now, but most of the South African manufacturers are still on Industry 2.0.
We have a big problem of traffic congestion in our country. We need to move people. We must start doing something about the current situation that we face in our country. And I can tell you right now that the best solution that we have is the rail system.